Welcome to Queensland. We're at sunny Hamilton Island. As you can see behind me, it's a lovely spot. We had a bit of rethink in terms of what we want to actually bring to you. And I think a lot of times we forget to cater to those of you who's never shipped a shipment before. It can be a bit of a landmine because our industry is great at confusing the hell out of you. So today we're going to do a very simple video on how to ship your first shipment.
This is when you get one special vibe.
Consider this to be a package. What you want to do, firstly and foremost, very important, is you got to measure the dimensions, right? So you got to measure the width, you got to measure the height, and you got to measure the length. So length times width times height in meters, you'll get your cubic meter. So when you ship sea freight, less than container mode, which means that you don't have enough cargo to fill a full container, you got to ship a smaller piece in a container shared with other people. The freight forwarder, ideally it's us, the freight forwarder will definitely ask you, okay, what is the size of your shipment? And what they're referring to is the cubic meter. So if you actually go speak to them on the first call and say, hey, look, my package cubic meter is 2 cubic meters. The forwarder's going to go, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. That might be helpful, okay? Next thing you're going to have to work out is you work out the cubic meter, you've got to work out the weight. Say, for example, that weight is 500 kilos, okay? And this is 1 cubic meter. They will charge you a per weight or measure formula. What does that mean? If your weight is more than your measurement, they will use the weight to calculate that $100 fee. So in this case, it's 0.5, so it's 500 kilos, but you've got 1 cubic meter. So which is greater, 1 or 0.5? Clearly 1. So in this case, the freight forwarder will use the cubic measurement to calculate the freight chargeable.
It's when you get one special vibe.
For air freight, what if you want to send that same thing air freight? With air freight, it's a slightly different formula. You have to work out what is the volumetric weight with relevance to air freight. Get your cubic meter calculations, multiply that by 167, and that will come to your volumetric weight. So in our previous example, right, we've got 1 cubic meter, 500 kilos. When it comes to air freight, 1 multiplied by 167, which means that it's 167 kilos. So in this scenario, you've got your volume weight, 167 kilo, actual weight, 500 kilos. Clearly, your actual weight is greater than that of 167 kilos, right? So in this case, the freight forwarder / airline will be charging you based on 500 kilos because that's a higher revenue earned weight. So those are the very basic fundamentals of how to ship your first shipment with relation to LCL and air freight.
It's when you get one special vibe.
What happens if you've got enough cargo you want to do a full container? Well, very simple. Speak to your supplier, work out whatever your order is. Does it fit into a 20-foot container or a 40-foot container? If you say you're importing suitcase such as this, you ordered 1,000 of them, right? Now you can do a pretty crude calculation in working out, okay, 1,000, how much cubic meter does that take? But always best to check with your supplier because no doubt your supplier have shipped many of those things in containers before and they will be able to give you the most precise number of units that can fit into a certain size of a container. Getting more stuff into that container clearly will reduce your cost because you're paying for the full container cost as opposed to per cubic meter space or per kilo of space, you know, and what have you.
It's when you get one special vibe.
So far, we've talked about pretty easy conventional stuff. Well, let's face it, most of the stuff that's being shipped is pretty easy conventional stuff. What does that mean? Cartons, nice packages on pallets, you know. What happens when you ship stuff that's a bit out of the ordinary, like a massive yacht or boat or anything that doesn't fit into a conventional container? Well, the same principles apply. You've got to work out how much space that thing takes up. You've got to work out which carriers can actually handle that piece of cargo because most containers ship these days, 90% of cargo, it's all nice modular containers. But every container ship will have a bit of space in the middle that allows for stuff that doesn't fit in the container. And those don't come cheap. So if you're shipping a massive mining equipment or yacht or what have you, that's what's known a break bulk mode or a row mode. Roll on, roll off, or break bulk. Break bulk simply means anything that doesn't fit into a conventional container. I might do another video covering off on the non-conventional cargo shipping, but for the purpose of this video, I just want to give you this very easy to understand overview on how to ship your first shipment.
You know what I mean?